I want to talk to you today about divergent plate boundaries a little bit. I'm going to go from a continental crust that is just experiencing rifting all the way through to the evolution of an ocean basin like the Atlantic. What we find initially is that the continental lithosphere right here, remember, is made up of a little bit of the upper mantle and continental crust. Due to heat coming up from the mantle, probably as part of a convection cell that is much bigger than the scale of this diagram. The heat is rising up like this, and it starts to bulge this part of the continent up. And then, because it's bulged up, the two sides start to pull away, and we start to create tension in the crust, and that causes a crack. That crack becomes eventually a rift valley. Notice that that rift valley is dominated by basaltic eruptions. We have a little volcano right in there. Typically, the earliest eruptions are basaltic, and they're usually out on the edges of the rift, like the East African rift. Notice faults start to form here with these blocks going down in the middle. Those are called normal faults, and normal faults are indicative of tension in the crust. They are the dominant types of faults that you find in this type of setting. As heat and mantle material continue to flow up in this area and the blocks move further and further apart, eventually you go from a continental rift valley to a drowned rift where the sea eventually makes it in, much like in the Middle East now in the Gulf. And we get magma being injected along the rift valley. There may still be some volcanism here. The edges of the rift will continue to fail, and there'll be more of these normal faults here and here, these fault blocks. But we'll still get some volcanism in the rift valley and a lot of seismic activity. Notice here that, again, it's bowed up. As this progresses, we keep adding new material, so it's young right here at the main part of the rift, and the crust, the oceanic crust that's new and has been added, gets older as you go away from that rift valley. And at the edges, on both sides, you have this continental edges that we call passive margins, which are the edges, the trailing edges of continental plates that aren't experiencing very much in the way of tectonics. They're just gradually moving away from each other under the influence of the spreading here.